Hello and welcome to bonus episode 2 of Slow on the Record, recording on March 24th and publishing on March 26th, 2025. I'm Nathan, and rejoining me once again is my lovely wife, Emily. In this special episode, she and I will discuss what the first 6 weeks of parenthood have been like. I will ask Emily questions that I hope will get right to the heart of what being a mother for the first time has meant to her. We will resume regular episodes with Ron on Sunday. As a reminder, there are only 2 of those left in Season 1. You can make sure you don't miss an episode, bonus or otherwise, by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or the Podbean app. Just search for Slow on the Record. Hi, Emily.
Hey.
Thank you again for joining me. And I want to say a special thank you to Emily's parents for watching Ronan so that we could actually record this episode.
During the witching hours as well. So.
Yes, here in the early evening. So how are you feeling, Emily?
Feeling good, feeling tired. Had my doctor's appointment today, and I'm good and healthy and recovering well, so that was good news to hear.
By good and healthy, you mean just in general? What do they check at these doctors? We haven't actually had a chance to talk very much about this. Like, you don't have to go into too personal details, but you had a C-section, which I covered in the episode that Dad interviewed me with. That was kind of unexpected. So how is that? Is that healing well?
Yeah, the doctor, it was the same doctor that actually did the surgery, who I really like her. And she checked out the scar and made sure it looked good. She said it looked really, really good. And then she just asked me how I was doing, feeling, how the baby was doing. And that was about it.
So 6-week checkup and everything looks well with you. That is definitely good. Let's go all the way back because we haven't had you on the air, quote unquote, to talk about this since the pregnancy. So that was the last time that we were kind of in the last days of the pregnancy. And we even left with a little message for, at that time, baby boy Sloan. And so we're picking up from that. The next thing of note for you would be that evening of February 6th and early morning of February 7th, you woke up experiencing regular contractions, or you woke me up that morning, and we got our things together and went to Wake Med Cary. What was that night like, and what were you thinking and feeling during the early labor period?
I remember I was on the couch because it was hard to tell. Like, I feel like you hear people say like, oh, you'll know it, when you're in labor. And yeah, I got further into it, like driving to the hospital, I felt it. But that middle of the night before, like it felt painful. It was more in my back, which I think is not always the case for some women. And so it was hard to know, like, is this actually it? But I just remember being on the couch. I watched Gilmore Girls in between, maybe falling asleep every now and then. And yeah, it was painful, but the mental of, oh my gosh, is this happening, was a lot too. But I finally made the call basically early on the 8th that morning when I woke you up. But yeah, I just remember being on the couch and just trying to jot down times of when I thought contractions might be happening.
So your memory probably after that, just from what I observed, seemed to be a mixture of stress-induced, maybe some drug-induced later on in that day, but you didn't seem to be 100% with it, tracking everything. You even made the comment to me one time that you're glad I journaled throughout the hospital stay because it seems like a blur and even just time moving by so fast. But what memories stand out to you from either the 7th, 8th, 9th, leading up to his birth, when you saw him, when he was born, and that first day of recovery? What, maybe 2 or 3 memories that really stand out to you?
I just remember, number one, being in the labor room. And I mean, yeah, there are definitely pieces of the labor that like will flash back to me randomly. But I definitely remember, I think when it comes to the hospital, the nurses and doctors are a big memory for me because you're in such a vulnerable and painful place that having a good nurse especially makes a world of difference. And so I think things that stand out for me, number one, before Ronan was actually here, was the night nurse that was there for a lot of my labor, and the doctor, Dr. Piper, who was really, really, really great when it came to breaking the news to me that I was going to have a C-section after 24 hours of labor and all that. And then also, I don't know if she was a nurse or what, but the woman that was beside my head during the surgery. So like the healthcare workers to me stand out because I think I blocked out some of the things that actually happened to me physically. So that was one thing overall that stood out. You being there for me was another one. Going to get me stuff, sitting by me in the bed waiting. Those popsicles were really good that you brought. That well, we split them because they were the only thing I could eat. Those were really, really good in the moment. And then I remember the team for surgery too, also being really good, and just I remember hearing him cry. I don't remember what I said to him. I know you mentioned like me talking to him when they laid him on me. I don't remember a ton of what I said. I remember I told him he had a dog at home, and telling him because I was just trying to talk to him. I was so out of it at that point, but I was just trying to talk to him so he could hear my voice. And I don't remember what I said, but I do remember when they laid him on my chest as well. So
now, is that because of the drugs they had you on, or is that just adrenaline? What do you attribute that to?
Not remembering, you mean? Yeah. Certain things. I think probably the drugs, the adrenaline, and the maybe sleep deprivation because, I mean...
Been like 2 days and you hadn't slept to that.
Yeah, I hadn't. Yeah, the epidural did not give me the magic relief that it gives some women. So when even when I was feeling no contractions at all, when they first gave me the epidural and when they could push the medicine, I couldn't fall asleep. So yeah, it was probably a combination of all that.
Yeah. So you mentioned when they broke the news about the C-section, and at that point in time, having watched you labor without the epidural and then get the epidural, and it wasn't that relieving, and the tremors that you were facing with that kind of keeping you from sleeping, even if you weren't feeling pain. It had been just about, I don't know, 72 hours. Yeah, not 72 hours, but at least 48 hours because you didn't sleep Thursday night.
Right.
And then you didn't sleep Friday night. So that morning, Saturday morning, when they broke the news to us, I just was feeling so sorry for you because you were pitiful. You were tired and had been laboring for so long. And at the moment, it sounded like the worst news in the world that your wife's going to have to go into surgery. But by the same token, I guess for you, I got the sense it was a little bit of a relief that, well, at least this is going to be over. Was I correct in that, or what was going on in your mind when you found out about it? Were you more fearful, or were you just like, well, I'm going to trust the doctors and we're going to go with this and it'll be fine?
I think, well, the doctor like that I keep talking about, she was the one that said that she had gone through basically a very similar experience literally 1 year before when she had her baby. I think that part helped me feel better. But I think a couple things going through were, I feel like I got really, really far and I was ramping myself up for pushing and doing that type of birth. I don't want to say natural because always of a baby being born are natural. But that was on my mind and we were so close and I had no idea that, I mean, I don't know if this is TMI, but the fact that the way my pelvis is shaped is why he couldn't come out. And I had never heard that. And that had not been something that had been mentioned until I was, really far dilated. So that just, I wasn't thinking that was a possibility until right before. So I think I felt like I just been laboring for so long that it felt like, man, I've come so far and now I'm gonna have to have surgery. And the surgery itself freaked me out and scared me because medical stuff, of course, scares me. So I think I was more like, I guess, nervous and a little maybe disappointed is the word. I don't know. But more just scared of the surgery because I know it's a big deal. It's a big surgery.
So. My impression in the moment was that I felt a lot more nervous and disappointed than you appeared.
Now I think I was just out of it. I don't remember how I was acting. I remember crying. I remember Dr. Piper telling me, "Yes, you're gonna have to have the C-section." I remember crying, and I remember her consoling me about that. But I don't remember.
Do you remember when you scared me by choking?
Oh, I will never forget. That is, I didn't want to really mention that, but if we're going to keep it real, the projectile vomiting was something into the bag.
Right.
But that I will never forget. Yeah. And I just remember saying, "I'm sorry" to the nurse and her being like, literally, you're about to birth a human. Like, you're doing amazing. Like, nothing you do is bad. Everything you're doing is amazing. But yeah, no, I definitely remember that. And yeah, I remember choking on that. So that was fun.
Yeah, for like about 20 seconds, I was terrified because she signaled to me that she couldn't breathe. And I had to hit the call nurse button and they rushed in there. But by the time they got in there, she was breathing again. So that was very scary. But it's just an emotional roller coaster. To me, it was like this anticipation leading up to it that we're looking forward to with a little bit of anxiety. And then when it's happening, you're like, oh gosh, it's happening. And you're just moving through it. But then seeing the pain that she's going through and how hard it was, and then just feeling helpless. And you're going, I don't know, people say this is going to be the happiest moment or one of the greatest experiences of your life. And in that moment, you're going like, ain't no way. Like, this is not happy. She's not enjoying this and I'm not enjoying it. But then for me, the complete 180 that I experienced, admittedly, I wasn't on drugs and I had more sleep than you, of actually meeting him and seeing him was just like whiplash almost. I was so scared and unhappy, and then all of a sudden so very happy, like I've never been happy before. I know that like we covered earlier, you can't really remember that much, but when did you kind of collect yourself or have the first opportunity to collect yourself and be like, oh, here's my baby?
I don't know if this is the real answer, but what comes to mind, number one, is hearing when we were still in there and I was still laying on the table when they said how much he weighed. I don't know why. Like, that, number one, clicked with me. Number two, I just thought, like, whoa, because he weighed 812. And I was like, that's good. That's big.
For you, yes.
Yeah, that's how, I just remember thinking that was not funny, but I remember, I don't know, being like, chuckling at that a little bit and being like, oh my gosh. And I don't know. So I definitely remember that and being, I guess, happy about that. So that's one thing. And then I guess the first time when I got to actually hold him, because I couldn't hold him at first because my arms were, kind of like tied down, but holding him but I didn't really get to hold him that much until we had gotten into the room.
Yeah.
But
I have a picture of you from Monday, I think, that's just a really sweet picture of you holding him. Of course, you'd had a chance to hold him on Sunday and all too, but yeah, I know it was surprising. It shouldn't have been surprising to me, but it was surprising to me to see how quickly you went into mama mode, comforting him from the table while you're in surgery, and he's crying and you're just trying to comfort him and make him feel better. And then that's making me cry. But like, did you surprise yourself in any ways, or did you have any surprises about becoming a mom?
I guess it was, yeah, it is surprising that I went into that mode so quickly, but I guess it is because, I guess I wasn't really thinking it consciously, but when he's out and he's crying and I'm laying there, like, he's been with me all cozy for all these months. And it's kind of just like, oh my gosh, he's probably freaking out right now. Like, this is a whole new thing. He's having to breathe for himself and he's all of these things. So I think even though consciously, I don't think I was thinking about that, I remember like, I'm like, oh, this is why I was trying to comfort him and talk to him, and I knew he knew, our voices and all of that. But I mean, I still like, it's definitely not, a 100, and maybe some women are different, but it's not to me, a 180 flip to like, I'm a natural, everything is so natural for me to be a mom. Cause I remember, being really nervous about moving him certain ways, and it doesn't all, perfectly click into place at one time. So I definitely remember still being very nervous about changing his diaper and like figuring all that out too. So, yeah, I think as much, I don't want to paint a picture of like I was a perfect natural 100% from the jump, but and I also just thought he was the cutest thing, and he is. But I just remember thinking from the bat he was the cutest thing, and just like looking at how beautiful he is, and he was when we got to see him. It was really cool getting to see what he actually looked like.
Oh yeah, that's what I wasn't prepared for. Is we had the little, what do you call it, ultrasound picture from months earlier,
weeks, yeah.
And you're trying to kind of extrapolate that out and imagine what that might look like, but it's all abstract. It's all in your head. You're thinking of it, and when people say nothing can prepare you for it, when you actually see your baby, it's almost magical. It shouldn't be. I mean, it's natural. It's biology and all that happening, but it feels very like something magical has happened. This new person is here, and you get this sense, I did, of like, this is family, and family's always been really important to me, and so that just immediately I felt love for him, which is another novel experience. Normally, to love someone, like to love Emily, that took some time. Had to meet her, get to know her, do some things. But to feel like love immediately for someone is a very novel experience.
Yeah.
Has becoming a dad brought out any discernible changes in me that you've noticed, or do you get a sense that our relationship might be different either already or might be heading towards some differences compared to before?
I think number one, I feel like, again, I think this is different in a good way. I mean, like, of course, before the baby, I mean, there were times where, we'd get in little, arguments, or like one of us would be in a bad mood, and and it would, for me, I feel like if I was in a bad mood, or if you were in a bad mood, it would take me a minute to like get over that, if that makes sense. Or if we had a little argument, it'd be like, oh, we need to, I don't know, really talk about it every single time. I don't know. Before I could feel like we could move on. But to be honest, with a newborn, and when we're both really, really tired and, no sleep, and my hormones, of course, are completely in a place they've never been in my entire life because postpartum, I feel like it's easier to like snip, like me snip at you or whatever like that. But I feel like, I don't know, we have this not unspoken agreement, but there are little times where that happens because it's 11 o'clock at night and he's not, he keeps crying, where we might have that moment, but then we kind of just move on and love each other, like, and are still there for each other. I feel like I'm rambling right now because I'm so tired, but like, I feel like we have this unspoken, like, what happens at 3 a.m. is just a matter of sleep deprivation, and we're fine, and we're still there for each other, and it's not.
We also don't have time to get our feelings hurt as much.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we just got to move on and be there for each other, and yeah, feelings can't get hurt the same way.
I had an Italian professor in high school that was like first generation Italian American, so real Italian parents. And he would give us little mini lectures on Italian life. It was one of my favorite teachers ever. But one of the things was like, he would say, we share our emotions. We just say what we think and feel, but we also move on from it quickly.
Yeah.
Like, people understand we're just blowing up at each other because we have a sudden swell of emotion, or we're passionate or whatever. and they don't take it personally and carry it with them. And maybe there's a little bit of that.
That's exactly what I mean. Like, I feel like, yeah, like there might be a moment where I snip at you about something, you know, just in that moment, or you do the same to me. And yeah, it's like, we can't, hold that. We got to move on. But I mean, even when that happens, I still feel like we're a really good team in terms of just figuring out this new life together, because it's, of course, a completely new life. Also, I feel like, I mean, patience is a big thing that we both, you know, have to have. And, you know, a new baby will try that patience, because for me, it's like, I don't always know what he needs if he's upset. And then I become really critical of myself because I don't know what's going on. And then my patience runs out. But I feel like, so even though our patience can be tried, I feel like I've seen, at least with me, like when I'm in a mood or freaking out or something's going on, you're quick to either steady me or bring me back down, or offer to take him so that I can take a breather for a second. So that's been good, really nice to see, and from you as well, which has made me feel good.
Great. Well, as this leads perfectly into my next question, everything that you just said, parenting an infant is not easy. You've always heard that, and we are experiencing that currently. What struggles, at least the ones that you feel comfortable talking about, are you dealing with currently 6 weeks in?
I would say, and I've talked to a couple people about this. I think, so with him, when he was in the hospital, he lost some weight that they thought was, you know, concerning. So we ended up having to do a lot of different feeding, or they call it triple feeding. And luckily that it didn't take long for him to gain his weight back once we got home. But I think just having this hyper fixation and hyper attention on his eating from the very, very beginning has caused me to continue that to now. So when it comes to nursing and giving him bottles and feeding him and all of that, I think I'm very hyper critical of, am I feeding him well? Is he feeding well? Is he fussy because I didn't feed him enough? Like, what's going on? So a big part of my mental capacity is taken up with that, and that can be a struggle because I think there's a perception that, you know, breastfeeding and nursing is just so natural. Like, it's supposed to feel natural and be easy. And because it's a natural thing, it's supposed to be really easy and no problems at all. And that's really not true. You know, it takes a minute to get used to for some people. It's not just like this, like, oh, I could do it in my sleep type thing, or at least it wasn't for me. So just making sure I'm feeding him well is something that I think I'm hyper focused and worried about. So that's been something, and just making sure he's healthy. But I think that's a big thing. And then just trying to make sure, you know, I'm learning how he's communicating so that I know, is he hungry or is he tired? And just trying to figure that out.
Or is he gassy?
Or is he in pain? Is he gassy?
For me, it's the sleep that's been the hardest. I there's only so long I can go on like 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night before it really starts to be apparent in my work and in relationships with other people. And initially it became like when he was just waking up every 2 hours on the dot, the first time when we got home, it was very apparent to me very quickly that that's not, like, we can't both be in the room, because he's gonna, just as you fall asleep, he's gonna wake you back up again. So I asked, and you agreed to let us go onto a shift schedule. So I would keep him until 2 a.m. and then you'd switch off, and we did that for the first 4 weeks, 4.5 weeks, and then he started sleeping a little bit longer, and there were sometimes 3.5 hours between waking up, and we decided, well, maybe we can move him into the bedroom in the bassinet. And the last, knock on wood, the last week, he's been fairly good about only getting up once. And then, so we'll put him to bed at like 9:30, 10 o'clock for the last time. And then we'll go to bed. And then what time does he wake you up typically?
Normally between 2 and 3 or somewhere in there normally. If we get him to bed, yeah, if he's in bed by 10 or so, he'll wake up somewhere between 2:30, 3, something like that. So I'll get up, feed him, pump, and then get back to bed myself about an hour. And it takes about an hour or hour and a half of me being awake before I can go back to sleep.
And then he'll wake me up at like 5:30, except the last 2 nights.
Yeah,
which is he slept until almost 7:38, and I hope that keeps up.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah,
but yeah, the sleep deprivation just was.
Yeah, that was definitely hard.
It was hard, and that, to your point about us blowing up and being angry and emotional. Absolutely. Like my emotional regulation was affected by the amount of sleep I was not getting.
Yeah.
And so the sooner he can allow me to get a full 8 hours on a routine, I think the better off I will be as a parent. Big picture question. I know that this has only been 6 weeks, so you may not have the most compelling answer, so no pressure. Maybe I can come back in a year at his birthday and ask this question again and get a little bit of a different answer. But how were your conceptions about motherhood similar or different from what your lived reality has been in these early days? Or are there ways that it's, yeah, pretty much I thought it was going to be exactly like this? Or did you have thoughts about what it would be like that you're now like, whoa, I was way off?
Yeah, I think the feeding, the feeding him, I did not realize was going to be as, I don't want to use the word difficult, but as challenging as, like, I didn't realize how challenging it was going to be. Like, I heard, it can be painful at first, but, yeah, I think that has been something that I didn't realize. Yeah, again, I don't know how many people talk about, oh yeah, it takes a lot of practice to feel comfortable nursing or doing this, doing that, or just trying to figure all that out, I think is a lot. I thought I'd just be like, oh, okay, I'm feeding him. Okay, he's done eating. I didn't think it'd be something that would, take up so much of my brain space and making sure I'm doing for him. So that was different than I thought it was going to be in terms of challenge. I think nothing can prepare you for it. So I definitely think the perception doesn't always match up, but I do think that it's crazy what you can get used to and how you can adapt and how you can become a little bit better each day or a little bit more comfortable each day. And it was kind of like that in pregnancy, like something would come up or like a pain would come up or I had to go to the doctor to do this or that. And you just get through it and you look back and you're like, yep, I did that. I would have been scared to do that before, but I went through it and it's over and whatever. So I think same thing here where you do adapt to a little less sleep. It's not fun. It's not easy, but you blink and 6 weeks have gone by and we're doing it. We're doing the thing. We're doing the parenting. But so I think that there were definitely some things that I didn't realize were going to be a challenge. But we're making it through.
Yeah, it's a surreal moment when you leave the hospital and you're alone with the baby in the car, just driving home. Like, do they know what they're doing, letting us take him home? Like,
I know. I remember like when we got him home and like the first week, if he would cry, I'd be like, he knows we're amateurs. Like they sent me home with amateurs. He
smells there's blood in the water. He's going for us.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think it's interesting to think about like the first couple of days home or even in the hospital, like just being nervous about, like, not that I don't overthink everything and get nervous now, but like being nervous, changing his diaper or changing his outfit or just all these little things that now kind of feel like second nature. you know, like we've done it so often. Like I remember I've thought about this multiple times, I guess because we change his diaper all the time. But I just remember you in the hospital, the first few times you change his diaper, you would put the diaper down backwards. You know, like you
Oh yeah, I did that so many times. It probably took me like 3 days to finally start putting the diaper on.
But I remember you saying like, I'm never gonna get this right where I put the diaper on the right way, and you certainly do. Like, you know, like you do, because we got used to it and we did it so much, and it's
the thing now that we're not as used to still is bathing. So we only bathe them like twice a week.
Yeah.
And which is what they tell us to do.
Yeah, don't want to dry his little skin out right now.
But that means we haven't got a lot of practice with it. So I feel like you at least do not feel comfortable at all doing it.
Yeah, that is one that I'm not comfortable with.
And so I'm going to stop doing it and make you do it the next few times, because it's the same as when he's not in the shower. You can still manipulate him and move him around. He's not getting hurt just because you pick him up to scrub his back or whatever. But something about him being in there and it being slippery, you're like, oh, I'm scared I'm going to drop him. And I also want to provide a counterpoint, because you brought up the whole how you've been kind of fixated on the feeding situation and not feeling like it's natural or whatever. The counterpoint from my observation is that he's like above average weight. So he's eating well.
Yeah.
And all of the signs are there that everything is going great. I really think this is just something that you did have an idea in your mind that it was going to be a certain way, and it's not that way. And so it feels wrong, but in reality, maybe it's your perception that is just having to slowly change.
Yeah.
To realize, oh, it's not always comfortable for people, or it doesn't always feel magical, or it takes some time to get to the point where and for you it's that feeling. But I want to point out again, for him it is very magical. Like he loves it. He's like nursing and falling asleep, and it's great for him. And and that's what was so hard for me. I'm not empathetic in this, I guess, but I would sit there looking at my baby just like living his best life nursing, and you looked like you were on edge, like just about to break down. And I'm like, he's loving this. Like, what is, I mean, I know you don't like it so much, or you're having pain or difficulty or whatever, but let's take the win. He's putting on weight, and he looks happy and he's comfortable. And the last few days anyway, you seem like you're doing much better than you were last week.
Yeah. I think I go back and forth, or, up and down with it. But there was a time a week or more ago when I really broke down because something was going on, and I remember just being like, I don't think this is working. I don't think I can do this. And you had a really good talk with me and kind of put that into perspective for me of basically what you just said.
I think it's you being home alone too. When I left for work and you didn't have anybody to talk to, and you could just Google and spiral, just mentally allow yourself to go down this path instead of going, hey, wait a minute, I can take control of this train and stop thinking about this.
Yeah.
What are you grateful for? Just something that you're grateful for as it relates to your experience of becoming a mother.
I mean, I think I'm grateful for just the support system that you are for me, and the people that we have around us, my parents, your family, my friends, our people in our community group, our small group from church, just doing, anything to help us, dropping off meals, dropping off coffee, checking in with a text message, dropping off random baby stuff that they weren't using anymore, watching the babies for an hour so we could relax. Just being super grateful to have people like that, that have either gone through parenthood and know what it's like, or remember it a little bit, or just, even if they haven't, or just being there for us and showing up has been really nice. Makes you feel, loved and a little less alone through the process, because we're definitely not. People have babies every day. But yeah, so I think just the people in our life that love us and love Ronan.
Yeah, that's a good one. Mine is that you're both healthy, both of you, because everyone, of course, you worry about your kid being healthy when he's born, and oh, is he going to get back up to weight, and does he have any issues, and so the fact that he's appears all good is such a blessing that I'm grateful for, but also your health, because seeing the person, your wife that you love so much go into unexpected surgery is not as traumatizing it is for the person going to surgery, but it's still scary for that person. And there was a moment, I don't know if you remember it because you were kind of out of it, but they wheeled you back in after the surgery, and the nurse that was in there was like, her blood pressure's dropping precipitously or whatever it was. And she was like trying to call somebody. And I was like, oh, this is probably normal or whatever. But she mentioned to the other nurse again, like, her blood pressure is really dropping and we need to get the anesthetist in here. And the look on her face was just so serious. Like, for somebody that does this all day, every day as their profession, if she had, looked calm or whatever, like, oh, this is routine, that'd have been fine. But she looked like she had not seen this before, and it was scaring her. And so immediately I got a lump in my throat, like, oh, no, nothing better happen to Emily. Not at this point, not after all of this, not with this baby here. And your mind just goes to some pretty scary places there. And fortunately, it didn't have to stay there very long, because the anesthetist came in, who was a very nice guy as well. And he was sort of like, oh no, we had to give her an extra dose during the surgery kind of thing. And so this is normal. She's, young and healthy, so that we're not worried about this. I can't remember if it was blood pressure, if it was like heart rate or what it was, but something was dropping.
Yeah. Well, I remember my blood pressure dropping after the epidural too. So they couldn't like push the epidural for like an hour, or push the actual medicine for like an hour. But yeah, I do remember that a little bit, but I definitely was also out of it at that point too. But I remember him coming in and saying like, oh no, it was the medicine we had to give her. And then the nurse acted a lot more relieved, I think. But yeah, I could see how that could be scary as the witness.
I'm grateful that you're both healthy. What have you been watching, listening to, or reading these past few weeks since you've been home with Ronan without me?
Oh gosh. So lots of watching things, and a lot of rewatching certain things, just because I don't have to think too much about it. And if I am running around taking care of him, I'm not missing anything. So I've rewatched the rest of Gilmore Girls again. Rewatched The Good Place. I feel like I'm going to really tell on myself for all the things I could list. Rewatched The Good Place. What am I going through right now? Oh, rewatched Veronica Mars.
All of it?
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, it's just on. Yeah. And then now I'm rewatching Parenthood. I think the only new thing I've watched is still reruns of Survivor, because I never got into Survivor. So I started watching that a while back. But I am trying to read a little bit. So I just got the new Hunger Games book on my Kindle. So I'm going to try to read. And I've been listening to podcasts when I have to get up in the middle of the night with Ronan. So yeah, so just stuff to so my mind doesn't wander too much, but all sorts of stuff.
Oh, that's good. Tell me about your favorite things about Ronan so far.
Well, I do love that just recently he has started like smiling on purpose. That's been really fun to see, and started trying to talk. So that's been really cool. I've loved his little rolls that he's had since birth, his little cheeks and all of his little rolls on his arms and legs. Love it. And I love how he smells. Has that baby smell. And so those are the big things. The rolls, the smiles, the smell. Yeah. I like that I don't know, I'm sure every baby likes this, but I do like how much he loves his contrast books and cards and things. He likes looking at that. Yeah. What about you?
I feel like if there's any bit of personality peeking through at 6 weeks, which is hard to judge by, he seems really engaged and interested in learning already. And from what you just mentioned, like the books, when he goes from just like, sometimes he cries and we can't figure out what's causing him to cry. And I can bring a book up and he'll stop crying. And it's just like needs the mental stimulation.
Yeah.
And that's kind of surprising to me because when people tell you newborns just eat and poop and sleep and that's all that they do. And yeah, he's kind of getting older for a newborn now, I guess. And this is probably part of the normal developmental cycle. But to me, it seems like earlier than I was expecting for him to show like, I'm bored.
Yeah,
Give me something
like,
to do.
You're bored. Yeah, you don't want to just be rocked all the time. Like you want to, be under your play mat or something like that. I just texted a couple pictures to my friend Denise. Shout out to her. She went through her baby is a year older than Ronan, basically. So she freshly remembers everything, has been super supportive. I got to catch up with her today on my way to the doctors and talk with her. Of course, she asked for pictures, and I sent her a couple, and that's something that she said. She was like, he looks so inquisitive, and he's checking things out, because I sent her some live photos. So I would agree.
Yeah, so that seems to be something, and if that holds true and he's just got like a natural curiosity and desire to learn, then that will be something that's fun for me because I love to talk about things. And we'll see how that holds up when he goes through the why phase of why everything. But yeah, he's also just got, and I'm sure every parent would say this, but that smile just melts your heart.
Yeah.
When he does stop crying for 15 minutes and he's got healthy lungs.
Yeah, he does.
But when he does, and especially, and you can probably hear him in the background right now, especially in the mornings or something, right after he wakes up and he's just barely opening his eyes and I can give him a big, hey, good morning with a smile. And he gives me that little gummy smile from ear to ear. I'm like, oh, this is great.
Yeah. It does help a lot.
It
when
helps.
You're really sleepy or he's been crying a lot or
It's amazing what one little smile can do through all of that difficulty that you do go through. And to your point earlier about being able to do things you didn't think you could do, I read a book several years ago when we were still living at Caswell called Extreme Ownership, I think, it was written by a Navy SEAL, ex-Navy SEAL. And he impressed in that book that the SEALs train you that when you feel like you've given everything and you've 100%, you couldn't do anymore, usually you've still got about some percent left in the tank. I forget what it was. It might have been like you're actually only a quarter of the way to your real limit, but your mental limit is set so much lower than what your real limit is. And that's what they have to train them to, like, okay, you're in 40-degree water swimming to a beach and you've got to like snorkel there and you've got to carry 80 pounds of gear the whole way and you feel exhausted. But, if you don't know what your actual limit is, you could get in trouble and get killed. So they have to push themselves to know that limit. And yeah, I know I've hit some limits a few times.
Yeah, me too.
But I know where they are now, and they are a lot farther than I thought. A hard day before where you're like, oh, I didn't get to watch any TV or scroll for any time at all. That would be like the most luxurious day ever. Or you look at sleep and you're like, 6.5 hours, sweet.
Yeah.
And at no point in my life have I ever thought that 6.5 hours was a good night of sleep for me. But those goalposts do move and they do change. Yeah. Well, as we get close to closing up here, do you have any questions for me?
Well, I did like hearing what you like about Ronan. Let's see. Well, I guess the question about relationship and have you noticed anything different with me or learned anything different about us or think our relationship's different? I guess that question back to you.
Yeah, this is not to make you sound like you were selfish before or whatever, but we all are kind of absorbed in our own worlds. And so I see a much more selfless part of you. And you do get frustrated and you act frustrated, but whereas I can get frustrated to like a boiling point, you will get frustrated, but you still like baby's priority. Like I can get to the point where I'm like, put him in a raft and let's sail him down the river. Not literally, but I'm like pretty much done being around him. But you never reach that point. You've got that kind of like extra level of patience and care, and ultimately it's like the baby is higher than yourself. You rank the baby higher than yourself. So it's been interesting to see. I don't think you've ever ranked me higher than yourself, but to see you put another human higher than yourself is like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. And yeah, just a tremendous respect and admiration for all that you have to go through to even have a baby, carrying them, going through that labor. Is you mentioned that you feel like you're tougher than you knew. Well, you're way tougher than I knew you were. And you should have no doubt that you can handle from here on out, going to the hospital, whatever procedure, anything that goes on, you've got that in your back pocket now to reference in the future so that you're not as scared about medical stuff. So I see that level of growth. And it's been really nice to feel appreciated too. You've been intentional about every so often coming up to me and just hugging me and saying, I'm thankful for you and appreciate you, and not taking it for granted that you've got a husband that's there and loves you and loves the baby. And as a man, I'll sometimes read comments online from people where they're like dragging their wife or, you know, talking about how much they regret having a kid, or because they just don't feel appreciated. And it is so important for a man to feel appreciated. And I'm just, thankfully, I'm like, I can't relate because I do feel appreciated.
Good.
So
you are.
Thank you for that. I think that is good and healthy for our relationship.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. What do you want Ronan to know years from now about how you're feeling and what life is like for the three of us in this particular moment in time?
Well, I think number one, obviously, that we love you a lot, even more than we thought. I know we mentioned that in the first episode before you were here, but obviously now that you actually are here, it's really cool to get to love you. And I think even though I feel like we've spent a good amount of time talking about how challenging it is, it's always bittersweet to think about, even though this is really hard, he's never going to be this small again. He's never going to need us the same way like this again. And we're trying to soak that up. But at the same time, I am really excited to keep getting to know you and see what you're like in a few months, a few years, and all of that. But really enjoying the snuggles. You're really good at that.
Yes, I
and good at crying, which you're doing right now, but that's okay.
I concur. I really hope, let's just be quiet for a second. I don't know if you can hear that in the background, but we got to wrap this episode up quick because bless the Corings. They're dealing with a very distraught Ronan right now. So, but yeah, real quick, I want you to know, of course, we love you. And it is more than we had a conception of with the last episode when we were waiting for you to come. And I so look forward to seeing your personality come through and watching you grow up and become the man you were created to be. But at the same time, already when I put myself 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, I'm going like, oh man, like we're spending all our time together right now. And eventually I know you're going to have friends and want to do things and you're going to move out the house and, you know, I'll have to bug you to call me or whatever. But just know from the very, very beginning, we love you. And that's why we want to spend time with you and why we care so much about what's going on in your day to day. And if you ever have a kid one day, you'll understand. But if not, hopefully this has opened a window for you to see into the past at how much we do love you and have from the very beginning.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for this episode. We will hopefully have one more bonus episode with the Corings. I'll tease that. We'll see if they agree to do it. But hopefully that will be coming up in a few weeks. And otherwise, we will be back on Sunday, this coming Sunday, with Ron giving us the story of Sloan Communications as we wrap up the last 2 episodes of Season 1 of the podcast. Thanks, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you in the next one.